The front door was wide open when I came home, swaying slightly as if someone had left in a hurry. At first, I thought we'd been robbed. The kitchen counters were empty, every photo frame on the walls was gone, and the couch cushions had been flipped over like someone was trying to erase all signs of life. But then I noticed something strange. Nothing valuable was missing. The TV was still there. My laptop sat on the table, untouched. It wasn't a robbery. It was something worse. Her shoes, the ones she left by the door every night, were gone. The coat she always wore in the evenings, gone. I ran to the bedroom, and my stomach dropped. It was like the room had been gutted, as if someone had taken a giant eraser and scrubbed her existence from every corner. Her closet was empty. Not a single hanger left swinging. Even the bed sheets were stripped off, like she couldn't bear to leave behind a trace of where we slept. On the nightstand, a single half-empty glass of wine sat next to my wedding photo. But here's the thing. My face in that photo was scratched out. I stood there, frozen, staring at my own erased smile. That's when my phone buzzed. A single text from her, sent 5 hours ago, while I was still at work. Don't wait up. I don't know how long I stood there, just listening to the hum of the refrigerator. My head was spinning, my chest felt like someone had caved it in. She'd gone to dinner with her boss that evening, and now it was like I'd never existed in this house. My toothbrush was gone. My jacket. Even my spare keys. I reached for the kitchen drawer where I kept my letters, my old photos, my little keepsakes, emptied out. Everything that made me me was just gone. I sat on the bare floor of our bedroom, shaking, trying to piece together what happened. Did she do this while I was at work? Did she have help? Did her boss? No. I don't even want to finish that thought. And then, just as I was drowning in it, I saw something wedged behind the radiator, a torn piece of paper. Her handwriting. For words, it's not what you think. I sat there with that torn note in my hands for what felt like an eternity, reading those 4 words over and over again. It's not what you think. Not what I think. What am I supposed to think when I walk into my own home and it feels like a crime scene? My mind was spiraling. Was this some kind of cruel joke? Did she actually believe that stripping the house bare and leaving me with nothing but riddles would somehow make sense? I crumpled the note and tossed it aside, but it didn't matter. I could still see those words burned into my brain. I started pacing through the house like a lunatic, looking for any other clues. There was something almost surgical about how she'd done it. It wasn't just her things that were gone. She'd taken pieces of me, too. The jacket I wore on our first trip together, my collection of postcards from when we were dating, even the stupid ceramic mug I made in that pottery class she dragged me to. Everything was missing. It was like she had rewritten the story of our life together, erasing every chapter where I existed. I checked the garage, half expecting her car to be there, but of course it wasn't. Instead, I found something chilling, an empty box labeled with my name in thick black marker. I swear my knees almost buckled. She had packed me up like I was nothing more than an unwanted object to be thrown out. Inside the box was one single item she left behind, the tie I wore at our wedding. It was neatly folded, like some kind of twisted farewell gift. And that's when I noticed the smell. It wasn't overpowering, but it was there, her perfume. It lingered in the air, mixed with something metallic, like blood. My stomach dropped. I don't know why, but I suddenly panicked and checked the bathroom. Nothing. No signs of violence, no broken glass. Just a perfectly clean sink and an empty cabinet. It was too perfect, too clean. That's what scared me. I tried calling her again, but my calls were blocked. Not just ignored, blocked. The line didn't even ring. It was like she'd severed every connection between us in one single night. And then I saw it. On the kitchen table, my wedding band. Just sitting there, like an insult. She must have taken it off me while I was asleep last night. How? Why? My head was spinning. I don't know what came over me, but I sat at that table, staring at the ring, and I swear I heard something. A faint buzzing sound, coming from inside the vent above the stove. I dragged a chair over, climbed up, and unscrewed the cover. My heart almost stopped. Inside the vent was a small envelope, sealed with black tape. On the front, written in her messy, hurried handwriting. If you read this, I'm already gone. I held that envelope like it was a live wire, my fingers trembling as though I already knew whatever was inside would split my life in half. For a moment, I thought about not opening it. Maybe if I left it sealed, I could pretend none of this was real, that she'd walk through the door any second and laugh about some insane misunderstanding. But the truth has a way of gnawing at you, and I couldn't stop myself. I tore it open. There was a single sheet of paper inside, folded twice with careful precision. Her handwriting ran across the page, jagged and uneven, as if she'd been shaking when she wrote it. Fletcher, I need you to listen instead of reacting for once. You're going to hate me, but it's better than you getting hurt. Everything you think you know about my job, about who I am, it's a lie. I can't explain now. You'll find out soon enough. Just leave the house tonight. Don't wait for me. Don't try to find me. Trust me one last time. My pulse spiked. What did she mean you'll get hurt? And why tonight? I read the letter again, trying to find some hidden meaning between the words, but all it did was sink me deeper into a pit of dread. This wasn't just about a dinner with her boss anymore. This felt like something else entirely, something that had been brewing under the surface of our lives while I was too busy believing we were ordinary. I ran my hands through my hair and laughed, this low, broken sound that didn't feel like it came from me. Was this some kind of elaborate breakup stunt? Who vanishes like this? Who leaves behind cryptic warnings instead of explanations? I looked around the gutted house, at the spaces where our life used to be, and I realized I had nowhere to even begin. My phone was still warm from all the failed calls I'd made, so I did the only thing I could think of. I started scrolling through her messages, her emails, anything I could access. That's when I noticed a strange pattern. Whole threads of conversations between her and someone saved simply as M were gone. Deleted. Every last word. I slammed my phone down, heart hammering, and that's when I heard it. A car door shutting outside. My breath caught in my throat. I crept to the window, pulling the curtain back just an inch. Parked on the street, just far enough to look casual, was a black sedan I'd never seen before. The windows were tinted, but I could feel someone inside watching the house. I swear I saw the faint glow of a cigarette when the driver leaned forward. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. My wife's note echoed in my mind like a drumbeat. Don't wait for me. Don't try to find me. What the hell had she gotten herself into? And more importantly, what had she dragged me into? After what felt like hours, the sedan drove off slowly, no headlights, just disappearing into the night. I was left standing there, gripping the window frame, realizing I had two choices. I could do what she said, pack a bag, leave, and try to forget any of this happened. Or I could follow the trail she left behind, no matter how dark it was. I wasn't ready to run. Not yet. So I grabbed my jacket, shoved the letter into my pocket, and decided to find out what secrets she'd been keeping. I didn't pack a bag. I couldn't. Something about walking out of that house felt like surrendering, like admitting that she had turned our lives into a mystery I was too weak to solve. Instead, I grabbed my car keys and a flashlight, and I walked through every room of that empty house one last time, hoping for another clue. It was pointless. She was meticulous. Everything of hers and anything that tied us together had vanished, like she had rehearsed this escape for months. The only trace of her existence was that haunting note burning a hole in my jacket pocket. But there was one place she hadn't erased, her old desk in the corner of the study. It was locked, but I remembered how she used to leave the spare key taped under the bottom drawer. My hands shook as I ripped the tape off and turned the lock. The desk was almost empty. No papers, no bills, no pens or receipts, except for a single USB drive, black and unmarked, hidden under the lining of the drawer. I held it like it was radioactive, unsure if I wanted to know what secrets it contained. But curiosity burned hotter than fear, so I slipped it into my pocket. The house felt hostile now, silent, watching. I couldn't stand another second inside, so I got into my car and just drove. I didn't even have a destination. My mind was running wild with thoughts of that black sedan and the cigarette glow in the dark. Was someone watching me? Was that connected to her boss? To this so-called promotion dinner? Every scenario I imagined made my chest tighten until I could barely breathe. I ended up parked outside her office building, a squat gray structure with mirrored windows that reflected the empty streetlights like dead eyes. I killed the engine and just sat there, staring at the place where she supposedly spent half her life. It was quiet, too quiet. And then I noticed something strange. In the parking lot, near the back, was her car. She had taken her car, but why was it still here? If she left me, if she planned this, why abandon the car? My curiosity cracked wide open. I got out of my car and approached her slowly, every step making my heart hammer harder. The driver's side door was unlocked. That alone was wrong. She was careful about things like that. I slid into the seat, my hand trembling as I reached for the glove compartment. Inside, I found nothing but an envelope. My name was scrawled across it in her handwriting, but this time, it wasn't neat. It looked rushed, frantic. I ripped it open, my eyes darting across the words. Fletcher, if you find this, it means I didn't have time. Whatever you do, don't talk to anyone from my office. Don't trust him. Don't even trust the cops. There are things I've done that you don't know about, and if you dig too deep, you'll end up just like me. I'm sorry. I love you, but you need to disappear. Tonight. I slammed the glove compartment shut, my pulse roaring in my ears. What was this? Was she in danger? Or was she involved in something so dark that she was trying to drag me away before I found out? I looked around the parking lot, half expecting that black sedan to roll up at any second. I was starting to feel like prey. I took the USB out of my pocket, holding it up to the faint streetlight. What if this was the key to everything? What if it explained why she'd gutted our home and left me broken? My instincts screamed that I needed to see what was on it. I wasn't going to run. Not until I had answers. I decided right there that I would go back to the house, plug that drive into my laptop, and see what secrets my wife had left behind. But when I turned the corner to head home, I realized I wasn't alone. In my rearview mirror, about 3 car lengths back, there was that same black sedan with its headlights off, sliding through the shadows like a predator. I pressed my foot harder on the gas, but the black sedan matched every move, never too close, never too far, like it was stalking me deliberately. The street was almost deserted, the kind of eerie quiet that makes your skin crawl, and every red light felt like a death sentence. I could feel my pulse thumping in my throat as I tried to lose them by taking side streets I knew well, but each time I checked the rearview mirror, those shadowy headlights were still there, just far enough away to make me doubt if they were really following me, or if I was simply unraveling. I finally pulled into a gas station, hoping the sudden stop would force them to pass by, but when I looked up, the sedan had parked half a block away, waiting. Not moving. Not leaving. It was like they wanted me to know I was being watched. I ran inside the gas station, not to buy anything, but just to breathe, to feel some semblance of safety under fluorescent lights. The cashier, a kid barely out of high school, looked at me with this lazy suspicion, like he could tell I was falling apart, but didn't care enough to ask why. I grabbed a random bottle of water, paid for it, and stood there pretending to scroll on my phone while I stared through the glass window. The sedan didn't move. Whoever they were, they had patience. More patience than I did. I started wondering if this was all tied to the USB drive in my pocket. If maybe they weren't watching me at all. Maybe they were watching it. By the time I made it back home, my nerves were shot. I parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest of the way on foot, hoping I'd shake whoever was trailing me. The house looked even emptier in the dark, like the walls themselves knew I didn't belong there anymore. I locked the door behind me, double-checked the windows, and went straight to my laptop. I plugged the USB drive in, half expecting it to explode, and a single folder appeared on the screen. No name, just a date. 3 weeks ago. My gut tightened. Inside the folder were a series of video files, each named with random letters and numbers. I clicked on the first one. The screen went black for a moment, and then I saw her, my wife, sitting in a dimly lit room I didn't recognize. She looked different. Her hair was tied back tightly, her face pale and tired, and she was whispering to someone behind the camera. I turned the volume up and felt my blood run cold as I heard her voice. "I don't know how much longer I can do this," she said, her voice trembling. "He doesn't suspect anything yet, but if they find out I've told him, we're both dead. I have to make him leave before they decide he's useful to them." I froze, my mouth dry. Was she talking about me? Who were they? I felt like the air in the room had been sucked out. I skipped forward in the video, and that's when I saw something that nearly made me drop my laptop. A man stepped into the frame, a man I'd never seen before. He was tall, dressed in a dark suit, his face blurred out by the grainy footage, but his voice was calm, commanding, the kind of voice that makes your skin crawl. "Make him believe you left," the man said. "Erase him. Make him irrelevant. If he gets close, we'll have to handle it our way." I slammed the laptop shut, my hands shaking violently. Erase me? What the hell had my wife been involved in? And what did this man mean by handle it? Every instinct in my body screamed at me to get out of that house, but I couldn't leave. Not yet. I needed to see all of it, to understand what game I'd been pulled into. Before I could open the laptop again, I heard it, a car door slamming outside. I peeked through the blinds, and sure enough, that black sedan had found me. It was parked across the street now, and for the first time, the driver's side door was open. Someone was standing next to the car, facing my house. I stood there, frozen by the window, watching the shadowy figure lean against the black sedan like he had all the time in the world. He wasn't trying to hide anymore. He wanted me to know he was there. My breath caught in my throat as I noticed the faint glow of a cigarette between his fingers, the ember flaring every time he inhaled. The silence in the house was suffocating, broken only by the quiet hum of my laptop on the table behind me. Every instinct screamed that I shouldn't stay another second, but my legs wouldn't move. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might burst through my chest. I thought about calling the police, but my wife's note burned in my mind. Don't trust the cops. Those words felt heavier now that I'd seen the videos. What if she was right? What if calling them only made things worse? The man outside seemed too calm, too deliberate, like someone who wouldn't flinch at being confronted by a couple of officers. This wasn't just some random stalker. He belonged to whatever world my wife had been dragged into. Or maybe she wasn't dragged at all. Maybe she was part of it. That thought twisted my stomach into knots. I stepped away from the window, every creak of the floorboards sounding like a gunshot in the quiet. My laptop was still open. The video paused at the moment where the man in the suit leaned toward her, his blurred face close to hers. There were more videos, I knew there were, but my hands were trembling too much to click on anything. I kept hearing her voice in my head. He doesn't suspect anything yet. Maybe she wasn't just warning me. Maybe she was talking about me like I was some pawn, someone who wasn't supposed to know the truth. A sudden knock at the door made me jump so hard I almost screamed. It wasn't loud, just a single knock, soft, deliberate. Whoever it was, they weren't in a rush. I stood there, frozen in the middle of the room, staring at the door as if it might burst open at any second. I grabbed the closest thing I could find, a kitchen knife from the counter, and held it like an idiot, my sweaty hands slipping on the handle. Another knock, this time slightly louder. I forced myself to take a step toward the door. My mind was a hurricane of questions. Did they want me? Was this about the USB? Or was I just in the way of something bigger? I peeked through the side window, just enough to see the man's silhouette. He wasn't smoking anymore. He was just standing there, one hand in his pocket, the other resting on the doorframe like he owned it. Then, without warning, my phone buzzed on the table. I nearly dropped the knife. I ran to it, half expecting another cryptic message from my wife, but what I saw made my blood run cold. It was an unknown number, and the message read, "You have one chance to give it back. We're not here for you, Fletcher. Don't make this harder than it has to be." My gaze snapped to the USB still plugged into my laptop. Give it back. That's what they wanted. I don't know why, but my first thought wasn't fear, it was anger. If they wanted it so badly, then whatever was on that drive was the only leverage I had. Maybe the only thing keeping me alive. I typed back with trembling fingers. "Who are you?" No response. Just silence. I yanked the USB from my laptop and shoved it into my pocket, then grabbed my keys. I wasn't going to open that door, not when I felt like a cornered animal. I darted to the back of the house, careful not to make too much noise. I slipped out through the kitchen door, crouching low as I made my way to the alley behind my house. The night air was thick and heavy, every shadow feeling like it was reaching for me. I could still see the black sedan from the corner of my eye, the man at the front door oblivious to the fact that I was already gone. But as I started toward my car, a chill ran down my spine. There was another car parked in the alley, engine running, lights off. And before I could react, the driver's side window rolled down just a crack, and I heard a voice. Low, calm, terrifyingly familiar. "Fletcher, we should talk." The moment I heard my name from that car window, every muscle in my body locked up. It was like someone had poured ice water straight into my veins. I couldn't see the driver's face, only a shadow behind the glass. But the way he said, "We should talk," sent a wave of dread through me. I stayed frozen, gripping the USB drive in my pocket like it was the only thing tethering me to reality. For a long second, I considered bolting, just running as fast as I could down the alley. But deep down, I knew they'd expect that. Maybe that's exactly what they wanted, to chase me, corner me, make me crack. I swallowed hard and took a single step closer to the car, my voice shaking when I finally spoke. "Who are you?" I demanded, though it came out weaker than I wanted. The man inside chuckled softly, a sound that was far too calm, far too casual for the situation. "Who I am doesn't matter. What matters is that you have something that doesn't belong to you. We can make this simple. You hand it over, and you get to go back to your sad little life. Nobody has to get hurt." His words hit me like a slap. Nobody has to get hurt. That meant someone was already supposed to get hurt if things went sideways. Me. My grip on the USB tightened. I forced myself to take another step, close enough now to see his hands resting on the steering wheel. They were gloved, which only made my skin crawl more. This wasn't some random thug. Whoever this guy was, he was prepared. "What's on it?" I asked, my voice low. "What's on this drive that's worth erasing my entire life for?" There was a pause. The man tilted his head slightly, as though he was amused by my question. "Let's just say your wife got involved in something she couldn't handle. And now you're holding evidence that could burn everything down. Hand it over, Fletcher. Trust me, you don't want to see what's on it." His tone was too smooth, too confident. It made me want to do the opposite of what he said. Maybe I was an idiot, or maybe I was just desperate, but a fire lit up inside me. "You know what? I think I do want to see it," I said, my voice breaking halfway through but still defiant. "I'm not handing over anything until I know what's going on." "Who are you? What do you want from her?" The silence that followed was worse than any threat. Then he leaned just a little closer to the window. I still couldn't see his face, but I could feel the weight of his stare. "You think this is a game? You have no idea what she's done. She isn't who you think she is. She's not the woman you married, Fletcher. She never was." Something inside me snapped. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but before I could speak, the car door opened slightly, and I saw him start to step out. Panic surged through me. I turned and bolted, sprinting down the alley like my life depended on it, because maybe it did. I didn't look back, not even when I heard his footsteps hitting the pavement behind me. My heart was pounding in my ears, my breath coming out in ragged gasps. I cut through a side street, weaving between parked cars, until I finally reached my own vehicle. I dove inside, locking the doors and fumbling with the keys, my hands shaking so badly I could barely start the engine. When I finally pulled onto the street, I saw headlights in my rearview mirror again. They were coming fast. I had to think, had to come up with something. I couldn't go home, and I couldn't trust anyone. My wife's voice echoed in my head. "If you dig too deep, you'll end up just like me." But I had already dug too deep. There was no turning back now. I decided to drive to a place nobody would think to follow me. The old cabin my grandfather left me, 2 hours outside the city. It was isolated, falling apart, but it had a working lock and no neighbors. As I drove, I kept thinking about what the man said. "She's not the woman you married." What did that even mean? Was my wife lying to me from the very beginning? Or was she caught up in something so much bigger than us that it consumed her? I didn't know the answers, but I knew this. Whatever was on that USB drive was the reason my life was unraveling. And when I reached the cabin, I was going to find out everything, no matter what it cost me. By the time I reached the cabin, my nerves were frayed to the point of breaking. The place looked exactly how I remembered it, quiet, weathered, surrounded by a wall of trees that blocked out the world. For a moment, I just sat there in the car, gripping the steering wheel like it could somehow keep me grounded. The black sedan was nowhere in sight, but I didn't trust that I was safe. Not yet. I grabbed the USB drive, my laptop, and headed inside, locking the door behind me. The cabin smelled like dust and old wood. My hands shook as I set the laptop on the table and plugged in the drive. The same folder appeared, with those cryptic video files, but now I had to know the truth. I opened the second video. My wife's face filled the screen again, but this time she looked calmer, almost relieved. "Fletcher, if you're watching this, I know you didn't listen," she said softly, her voice trembling just enough to make my heart ache. "I couldn't tell you the truth while I was with them. My boss, he's not who you think he is. None of them are. They were using me, forcing me to gather information on people, on you. I never wanted this. I wanted us to be normal, to be happy, but I had to protect you. The only way to do that was to make you believe I left. If they think I'm gone, if they think we're nothing, they'll leave you alone." I paused the video, my head spinning. She wasn't betraying me. She was protecting me. All the pain, all the confusion, all the rage I'd been carrying melted into something heavier but softer: guilt. I clicked on the next video. She was crying this time, her hands shaking as she held up what looked like a set of files. "These people are dangerous, Fletcher," she whispered. "But I found something. Evidence. Enough to put them away if it gets to the right hands. That's what's on this drive. You can't trust the cops, they're in on it. But there's someone I trust, someone who's waiting for this. If you find it in you to forgive me, take it to her. Her name's Anna. She knows what to do." I sat there for a long time, staring at her face frozen on the screen. All the doubts I had, all the thoughts about her boss, and those cryptic warnings, they all started making sense. She wasn't the villain in my story. She was the reason I was still alive. A noise outside snapped me back to reality. A car door slamming, footsteps crunching on gravel. They'd found me. I yanked the USB from the laptop and shoved it into my jacket pocket. This time, though, I wasn't running blind. I was done being scared. I grabbed my phone and called the number on a card tucked inside the last video files folder. It was Anna's number. "Drive to the old service station on Route 4. A woman's voice said when she answered. "Now, don't stop for anyone. We're waiting for you." I didn't question it. I ran to my car, heart pounding but determined. The black sedan tried to follow, but Anna's people were ready. When I pulled up to the station, there were 2 SUVs waiting, headlights blazing. I didn't know who they were, but the way they moved, calm, purposeful, told me I could trust them. For the first time in days, I felt like I wasn't alone. We handed over the drive. Anna herself, a sharp-eyed woman who looked like she'd been fighting battles her whole life, nodded to me. "She's safe," Anna said. "Your wife? We've got her." And because of this, she held up the USB. "Those people are going down." I don't remember the drive home. I just remember walking into that empty house, sitting on the floor where everything started, and crying until there was nothing left in me. 2 days later, I saw her again. She looked tired, but alive. Safe. When she stepped through the door, we didn't even speak. We just held each other, like we were clinging to the only solid thing left in the world. The nightmare was over. The people who had tried to erase us, were gone. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I believed we could start over. Maybe our marriage was scarred. Maybe it would take time to rebuild trust. But as I held her hand and felt her heart beating against mine, I knew one thing for sure. We'd survived the storm. And that was enough.